your host, Tari Butler, and a welcome to the Mom Keys to Mental Peace podcast, where we empower millennial mothers to cultivate a deeper connection with God, nurture their mental well being, and navigate motherhood with honesty, harmony, and grace. Get ready to unlock secrets to mental peace and spiritual fulfillment. Whether you're longing for quiet in your mind, strength in your faith, or greater peace in your family rhythms, this podcast walks alongside you with biblical encouragement and practical strategies to cultivate mental peace and live connected with God. Ready to choose peace? Let's do it. All right, y'all. So welcome back to another podcast episode. If you are new here, hey sis, welcome. I'm so happy to have you join the family. And if you are an OG who taps in weekly, sis, welcome back. I'm so happy to have you back. So we are continuing our stewardship series, okay? We are talking about today how to create a peaceful home. So today's episode is titled Mess, Stress, and Stewardship, Creating a Peaceful Home. So just a quick backdrop if you are new to this episode, just a quick little review. My 2026 word for the year and theme of the next few episodes is stewardship. Stewardship is the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to someone's care. When you are careful with something, that means that it is marked by attentive concern. To be responsible means that you are reliable to be called on to answer, or being worthy of credit or blame. Whether something happened or did not happen, you are considered the responsible party. Okay, that's what that means. Management is the conducting or supervising of something. And the biggest word when it comes to the definition of stewardship is entrusted, which means to commit to another with confidence. Entrusted to someone's care means that things that we are responsible for stewarding over were given to us by God. We are not owners of the things that God has entrusted to us to steward over. Psalms 24:1 confirms this. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. The world and all its people belong to Him. Stewardship is something that's important to God. That's what we have been learning these last few episodes. So in every episode at the bottom in the show notes, I have included 100 scriptures on stewardship. This will be again included in every episode and all the past episodes. Just a link you click and all of the scriptures will be there. In this season, God is asking us, how are we handling the things that we currently have now? God is challenging and reminding us to steward over what we have instead of obsessing over more things that we desire or being unfaithful with the things that He has already given to us, that He's already entrusted to us. So I ask you, sis, how are you currently stewarding the things that God has entrusted to you in this current season? So the next area that we're going to look at in today's episode, how to steward your home and possessions. All right, let's get into it. So there is a Bible example that I want to give to show that God cares about how we steward our homes. Now, if you have ever tried to go through the Bible in a year, which I have attempted and I guess you could say failed or did not stick with. But those first few books of the Bible are pretty intense, okay? So if you've ever done this or you've went through the book of Exodus, in Exodus chapters 25 through 27 and 35 through 40, God gets very, very detailed and specific, okay? He gives extremely specific details to Moses about how to set up the tabernacle, which is a portable tent temple where His presence will reside. In Exodus 25, verses 8 through 9, it says, "Have the people of Israel build me a holy sanctuary so I can live among them. You must build this tabernacle and its furnishings exactly according to the pattern I will show you." And when God says exactly, oh, he meant exactly, okay? God goes on in these next few chapters to give extremely specific details on the layout of this tabernacle. Okay, if you've ever watched any type of home improvement show where they like tear down a house or fixer upper type show, God is like, he's given like ultimate interior designer in these chapters, okay? He is requiring them to use a specific type of wood. He's given them measurements for everything. He gives them plans on how to build, as he mentioned in the verse above, even the furnishings. So not just the tabernacle itself, but the furniture and the fixtures and all the things inside of the tabernacle. God is very specific. He even has plans for how to make a lampstand. He requires specific curtains with a specific amount of loops at the top of the curtains, even specific measurements for the curtains. Like, God is very, very detailed and cares about the layout of the tabernacle where essentially his presence will reside. This was a holy place that he planned to dwell in, and he didn't want it put together just any old type of way. So when it comes to our homes have been entrusted, there's that word, to us by God. This isn't to say that our homes have to look like a magazine, but they should be stewarded and kept in a fashion that shows that we care about our homes, that we are grateful for our homes, and that the Holy Spirit's presence is welcome to reside there. Okay. Now, I want to go through some things that affect our homes when they are not stewarded well or kept up well. So I did some research on how clutter can affect your mental health. There is a connection between an unkempt home or lots of clutter and your mental health. So the first one is that mess equals stress. When everything is in order and you know exactly where you put your things and you can grab them and go on with your day, this saves you time and a lot of hassle and a lot of mental space, right? Because you already know where those things are. In one study, women who saw their home as cluttered had very high levels of stress and hormone cortisol throughout the day, while those who described their home as well organized, restful spaces had lower levels. Now, what is cortisol? I don't want to assume everyone knows that. Cortisol acts as a stress response. It acts as the primary hormone in the fight or flight response, providing a quick energy boost and increasing alertness. Now, so if your cortisol levels are high from clutter and mess, like your brain literally feels like we are in danger, we are overwhelmed. There's so much things going on in here, and it actually raises your stress level. Okay. So if you're somebody that feels, stressed and overwhelmed at work, maybe stressed and overwhelmed with parenting and your kids, then on top of that, you're adding a cluttered home to that. Your brain is in fight or flight over mode, and those levels are rising. Now, when it comes to having a place for your things and releasing the mental load, I know for me in my home, there's certain things that go certain places. I typically abide by them. It's everybody else that seems to struggle with that. But I know, like, for example, my keys. My keys are going to be on one place. Okay. If my keys are not in that one place, then something is wrong. Okay. They are lost. You know how I'm Black, so I'm speaking from my Black experience. Black people quick if they can't find something to say somebody stole it. Okay, if my keys are not in that place, somebody has stolen my keys. There's a certain place that I like to keep the remote. If you have a Roku TV, you know those remotes are very tiny and can easily get lost within the couch or under the couch or wherever the case may be. There's a little coffee table in our living room. That is the designated place for that. However, Everyone does not put the remote back there. So when we're all scrambling and frustrated trying to find the remote, it's a result of things not being put back. I saw this quote on Instagram and I was like, ooh, the organizer in me, it just got very happy. It said to put things away opposed to putting things down, right? So when you have a messy home, it brings stress. But when you have a place for everything and you're not just setting things down, it can help you in those moments that it's time to go. It can bring some ease and peace to your mind when you know exactly where to go for the things that you need. And this can help with your kids at home as well. Now, my kids know I'm big on the word clutter. Okay. My oldest son says that if it was one fork in the sink, I would call that clutter. And he's right. I do not like clutter. I do not like a bunch of things just thrown every type of where, like the stress cortisol that is talking about rising. I physically feel that in my home versus when things are clean and put away. Y'all, I feel like I experienced the peace that surpasses understanding in my mind and in my body. So I definitely see the connection with this point here in my real life. Another way that clutter can affect your mental health is that your mind begins to wander. So it's hard to focus on important tasks when several things are competing for your attention. Researchers have found that being around disorganization makes it harder for your brain to focus. It can be easily tough for people with ADHD to be able to focus. So if you have a bunch of clutter in your home and you just feel overwhelmed, like you can't even hear your own thoughts, like your thoughts are constantly running, there's always something on your mind, you just can't focus. You start one task and then you put it down and then start something else. Sis, take a look at your environment. Is it cluttered? Is it disorganized? This can have something to do with that. Okay. Another way that clutter affects your mental health is that it can cause memory issues. Some people who live in cluttered homes have a poorer working memory, according to research. Your brain is wired to be able to keep track of only a few details at once for a short period of time, so it can get overloaded when there is too much going on. Another way that clutter can affect your mental health is embarrassment and isolation. A neat, tidy house feels inviting, right? Both for the people who live there as well as guests. A cluttered home may feel the opposite. You begin to shut people out, and this can take a toll on your relationships and make you feel sad and lonely. That could be one reason that a hoarding disorder tends to overlap with depression and anxiety disorders. Have y'all ever watched an episode of Hoarders? I can't take too many of them because it really is depressing. But the level of clutter and just junk and things and items in their house, you can just see the heaviness on that person. It mirrors their environment. Now, in no way am I saying that anybody on this platform is at a hoarder's level, but if you are, sis, no judgment. But just a typical cluttered house or messy house, there is a direct connection between your environment and your emotions. So if you are feeling heavy, if you're feeling weighed down, depressed, anxious, sis, take a look at your environment and see how are the items and the things looking in your house. And then when it comes to like isolation or being afraid to invite people over, I done been to some houses where, baby, there was no shame. They did not care that their house was a mess. And to be fair, there are some of us, who have children, who have kids. Yes, there's going to be toys everywhere, or dishes in the sink, whatever that. I'm not speaking of that. I'm speaking of literally like that. It's like just overwhelmed, like there's nowhere to sit, right? Or you can barely see the floor. That will cause you to not want to invite people over. And then, as the point said, do you even want to be there, right? Is your home even inviting to you? I know some people that avoid coming home. They'll sit in their car for long periods of time or go to everybody else's house or go out to eat or stay at work late to avoid coming home because of the conditions of their home. So those are things to think about when it comes to the mental connection of your mental health and your environment. Okay. So I want to share 3 ways to steward your home and your possessions well. So the first thing, before you buy anything else, ask yourself, how are you taking care of the things that you currently have? For example, if you have a closet full of shoes, clothes, and accessories, and when I say full, I mean full, it's packed. You got shopping bags at the bottom, your shoes are stacked, the hangers are popping out of place, it's full, it's packed, okay? If you have a full closet of these things, ask yourself, how often do you wear the items that you currently have? How are you taking care of the items that you currently have? Do you hang your things up and put them away? Or do you just throw them anywhere? Leave them in baskets, leave them on the floors. Okay, this is not a judgment episode. Okay, this is self-examination. And remember, our goal for this is stewardship. God just wants us to take care of our things. Okay, so do not feel like I'm coming for anybody. All right, but these are just things to ask before you go out and buy something else. Okay, I know for me personally, as a teenager, I was horrible with my room, with my clothes, like, especially when it came to washing and putting clothes away. Okay, I would wash them, but they would be sitting in baskets for days. I'd have a pile sitting on my bed. It might be clothes on the floor. I mean, things were just everywhere. And I can remember being frustrated with my mom, like, oh, I want to go shopping for this party, or I want to buy something. And she pointed out, like, I'm not buying you anything else because you're not taking care of the things that you currently have when it came to like clothes and shoes. You're not hanging up and putting your things away. You're not folding and putting your things away. There's brand new things that you have just tossed and thrown everywhere. I'm not buying you anything else. And I had a full circle moment of this with my youngest son recently. Y'all, he took a toy and literally like broke, it was Buzz Lightyear, took it and literally broke his legs right in my face. Like right in my face. Do you think I'm getting ready to buy you any more toys? And this is how you act. For one, he don't need any more toys. Okay. He has a toy box full. But every time that he asks for a new toy that he sees on like a commercial or in the store, I remind him of how he treated Buzz Lightyear and tearing that man's legs off in my face. So this is something that we need to hold ourselves accountable for when it comes to clothes and shoes. Before you buy anything else, sis, how are you stewarding the things that you have, and what are you actually wearing and using? Okay. When it came to me in my closet, I can remember just being excited or feeling like, oh, I got a lot of stuff just from the view of all the things. But half of that stuff in there, I didn't even wear, or I didn't even use, or I couldn't even fit. Right. So that's just something to think about before going out and accumulating more items when it comes to that. Okay. When it comes to your car, if you want to buy a new car, ask yourself, how are you handling the car that you have now before purchasing a new one? Do you keep up with the maintenance on the car? Can you maintain and steward the car payments and the car insurance currently? And do you keep your car clean? This was a conviction for me, putting my notes together. I do well with throwing away like big pieces of trash, like cups and fast food bags and things like that. It's just the vacuuming part that I need to do better on. And if you are a mama, that back seat gets so disrespected by those kids in that car. Listen, I do car rider for my school, car rider line. And when I open the doors, some of those back seats just look like a horror story. Okay. It's them kids. It's them kids. So before purchasing a new car, how often are we upkeeping the car that we currently have now? These are things to ask yourself. How are you currently handling your apartment before moving into a house? Do you keep up with the bills and the payments on time? Do you take care of the appliances in the home as if they were yours? Do you keep your home neat and clean and organized, or do you let maintenance know about needed repairs or just let them go? However you currently take care of the things that you have now is an insight of how you will take care of something else that you get. We tell ourselves that if we had more, if I had something different, if I had something else, I'm going to do better with it. And then we get it and we do better for a period of time. But as time goes on, that starts to dwindle away and we start treating that brand new thing that we were so excited about the way that we've been treating the things that we already have. Okay. The second way to steward your home and possessions well is to consider living a minimalist lifestyle. Okay. Now, we're going to go to the Bible for this because it is biblical. All right. So we're going to read the parable of the rich fool, which can be found in Luke chapter 12, verses 13 through 21. All right. So at the beginning, just a little backstory. Jesus is crowded, or there's a lot of people around him, right, in this huge crowd. And someone from the crowd shouts out to Jesus and asks him, can you tell my brother to divide our father's estate with me? All right. And Jesus asked him, like, okay, what qualifies me to be the judge of how your father's estate is divided? Now, during this time, this was the job of a rabbi who usually handled these type of matters. So it was kind of like a court settlement thing. And Jesus is like, how am I qualified to determine this? Right. He warns the man by saying, guard yourself against every kind of greed. Life is not measured by how much you own. And then Jesus goes on to give wisdom and further insight as we find ourselves in the parable. Says here, starting at verse 16, then Jesus told them a story. A rich man had a fertile farm that produced fine crops. He said to himself, what should I do? I don't have room for all my crops. Then he said, I know. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. Then I'll have room enough to store all my wheat and other goods. And I'll sit back and say to myself, my friend, you have enough stored away for years to come. Now take it easy. Eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, you fool, you will die this very night. Then who will get everything you worked for? Yes, a person is a fool to store up earthly wealth, but not have a rich relationship with God. So remember, the guy was like, I want to divide our father's estate. Can you help me? And Jesus responds with a parable. I love how Jesus never directly answers questions. He'll just pop out with a parable or a story, and you have to find where you fit at in that story. So there are some things that I just want to point out here about the rich fool. Let's see here. He told the story. Sorry. Okay. So it says that he told the story. A rich man had a fertile farm. So his farm was successful, right? It had lots of crops, lots of things were growing there. He was successful. Here at verse 17, he said to himself, what should I do? I don't have room for all my crops. Then he said, I know. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. Then I'll have room enough to store all my wheat and other goods. Emphasis made by me. All of this I, me, mine, right? The whole point of this series of stewardship is that the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. So he felt like everything that, grew from the ground, the crops that he had something to do with that. Not understanding that God was the source of all of those things. Then he had an overflow, right? He was successful in it. But his first thought was, let me build bigger barns so that I can store all this stuff for myself. To be sure, the overflow of this crop was to be shared out with others, to give to other people, not for him to store up for himself. Then come to find out, Jesus said, you're a fool because you're going to die tonight. And what you should have done, which is share it and give it out to other people's instead of hoarding it for yourself, is going to happen anyway when you die. When you die, all of this is going to be divided amongst others that didn't even work for it, right? So the principle here, when it comes to living this minimalist lifestyle, sometimes I feel like in America that we are so obsessed with consumerism and accumulation of items. We place our worth on how many things we have. We may not verbally say it with our lips and with our mouths, but it shows in our actions and our habits on social media and our conversations, how we show up with people, that we somehow feel worthy based off the type of possessions that we have and the amount of possessions that we have, which leads me to my next point about this whole self-storage epidemic. All right. So y'all know those self-storage units that you pay like a monthly fee or whatever for it to hold your things. Well, I had to do some research on this because I feel like this is connected with the overall consumerism of America. So did you know that there are over 52,000 storage units in America as of 2024? We're in 2026. In my own city where I live, I have seen multiple storage units being built. So I'm sure that number is way higher now. That is more than Starbucks, McDonald's, and Subway combined in America. More than 1 out of 10 Americans use a storage unit. So like I said, I've noticed the increase of self-storage units in my community here in North Carolina. So in preparing for this episode, I just Googled real quick, like how many storage units are in my area. Y'all, there are 40 storage units in my area, and I live in a very small town and surrounding areas, okay? This is a result of mass consumption in America. This self-storage industry thrives because Americans own too much, using units to manage the material overflow of the American dream. This is considered garbage storage, right? As critics argue that up to 90% of stored items are essentially trash and unused items, making the industry a racket that profits from overconsumption. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that TV show, Storage Wars, but I've watched a few episodes of it where they go into abandoned storage units. Maybe the person didn't keep up with the payments, and they start auctioning off items. Now, the point of this show is that sometimes there's hidden treasures in these storage units, but that is very far in between. Majority of that junk in there is actually junk, right? Majority of the stuff in the storage unit is trash. It's unused things. It's things that they have just overbought and are just finding somewhere to put it, right? Now, also too, in my research, I learned that, people are having to downsize their homes because of the increase in, being a homeowner. So as they're downsizing, they have so many things that the new place they're moving to, there's no room for all of their stuff. That strikes a question to me, and it goes back to the rich fool that we just read about in the parable. Like, do we really need most of the stuff that we go out and consume and that we buy? Like, do we need, and we're going to get into that. I'm getting ahead of my notes. Do we really need this? Okay. Jesus warns us about storing treasures here on earth and how it's a waste of time and resources. He says this in Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 through 21. Don't store up treasures here on earth, where moths eat them and rust destroys them. This is what's happening in those storage units, and where thieves break in and steal. Store your treasures in heaven, where moths and rust cannot destroy, and thieves do not break in and steal. Wherever your treasure is, there the desires of your heart will be also. And I believe this is the bigger message. Wherever we store our treasures. So if we are constantly buying things, always ordering off of Amazon, always making Target runs, always I don't know, ordering the latest thing on TikTok, always buying our kids something, always picking up something real quick from the store, just buying, purchasing, things that we want or things that we convince ourselves that we need, then that means that the treasure of our heart is connected to material items and not to the treasures of heaven. And as this verse says here, yeah, we're storing these things up just for them to rust, just for them to be thrown away, just for them to clutter our homes and affect our mental health and our minds and affect our pockets. Because as things are growing in our homes, our pockets are dwindling and getting smaller. And this verse too, it also convicted me about how our resources are supposed to be used to advance the kingdom. And then I'm big on tithing. Like, I have no problem with giving. Giving is actually a gift that I have, but I have to be careful with that because sometimes I can overgive. And that's something I'm trying to be careful with. So I have a budget with my giving. Of course, my 10% of tithing from my salary job, and then my side hustle, I'll use that 10% to do like random acts of kindness, maybe like a gift card or groceries or, something for somebody in need that I know. I'll do it that way. So I have no problem with giving, but that might be something that if you don't think about, how to use your resources to build the kingdom, but how you only use them to purchase things for yourselves or thinking about yourself or storing it up for yourself, like the rich fool, that is something to consider in a heart posture that you need to take a look at. Okay. Now, the minimalist lifestyle, which was the whole point that I suggested in this point. What is a minimalist lifestyle? A minimalist lifestyle involves intentionally living with fewer possessions to focus on what truly adds value, reduces stress, and fostering freedom. Now, when a lot of people hear minimalist, I think they think of like one couch in the living room, one table, one cup, one plate, and that's all you have in your house. Like, it's nothing else in your house, just one outfit for the day. I am not speaking of being that extreme, right? When we look at the definition of a minimalist, there's intentionality in the way that you live with fewer possessions. Why? To focus on what truly adds value to your life. So your perspective shifts from, oh, I want to buy this thing just because I want it, to, oh, I want to purchase this because it will add value to my life. It will add value to my family. And a lot of the stuff that we're buying is not adding value. It's just taking up space. Okay. Reduces stress. Remember, we just read about how clutter and overload of items in our house can have a mental effect and stress us out, right? So having a minimalist lifestyle is being aware of that when it comes to the things that you buy. I know for me personally, there's certain things I don't buy for my kids. Like, I would love for my kids to have like the like little four-wheeler driving things. I personally would like a bike for myself to be able to ride with my kids, but I have not purchased those things because where am I going to put it? I simply don't have the room to store it. I don't want it in my apartment, just in the way. I don't want it on my porch in the way, which we already got the kids' bikes out there, and I don't like the way that looks, but that's beside the point. Like, there are certain things it's like, yes, I would like that, but it's going to cause me stress to look at it just cluttered or sitting somewhere unused and in the way. Okay. So some key principles for a minimalist lifestyle is decluttering, prioritizing quality over quantity, and mindful consumption. Not going to Target and letting Target tell you what to buy. No, you have mindful consumption. You purchase things with a purpose. It often leads to improved finances, increased time, and a more sustainable, intentional life. So, how do you live a minimalist lifestyle? Start small, right? Start with just decluttering one room, one drawer, or one closet at a time. This helps to minimize feeling overwhelmed. And this is why a lot of people just continue to consume or just live and adjust their lives with the clutter, because it is overwhelming. Once you finally step back and look at all this stuff and then try to get rid of it, that is an overwhelming process, especially if you don't have like an organizational mind, right? So start small. I want you to evaluate the items and only keep things that serve a purpose or that you actually use. The times that I have gone through and decluttered specifically my kids' clothes, child, mind you, my 4-year-old he's 4, so he wears a size like 6, 7 in clothes. Why do we still have 2T shorts in the drawer? Like, there's things that I see it and I just keep going over it. I don't do anything with it. It just sits in the drawer. The drawer is getting packed. The drawer is getting filled. I never take them out until I actually sit down and say, this is what I'm going to do. I know my daughter, she is in like a large. Why does she still have size small shorts that she's been wearing as pajamas? But I was like, girl, we need to get rid of this stuff, right? So there's just some things that just over time just stay there, just hang around. We don't necessarily do anything with, but it's taking up space and clutter in our home, right? Consider some jewelry that you don't wear. I know I've had earrings where it's only one earring. Like, I have no clue where the other one is. Why do I still have that one earring? Why? I don't know where the other one is. It has been lost for over 6 months. Throw that stuff away, right? Maybe there's some kitchen gadgets you don't use. I know we had a broke blender in here. I don't know for how long. Nobody's blending anything. I had a coffee maker before. I've never made coffee in this house one time. I've never even purchased the items to make coffee. Why do I have a coffee maker? Okay. So these are things that we have to evaluate and go through a little bit at a time to start decluttering and getting rid of things. Now, I know for me, when it comes to clothes, I don't have a problem with getting rid of that stuff. We have like those donation bins in certain parking lots around town. Baby, I will bag something up quick and dump it in there. Or if there's someone I know who maybe wears my size or has kids who are younger than me that could use some things, then I'm going to give it to them. I know some people like to suggest, oh, you can sell it on Facebook Marketplace or whatever. But I'm that big of I just want it out of the way that I'm going to donate it in that bin or give it to somebody, right? Once I get going, I'm going and I want it gone. All right. Another tip to live a minimalist lifestyle is to use use it all before you buy another one. So some examples for me is I love candles. I'm a huge candle lover, to the point my husband knows that candles equal flowers to me. I would rather get a candle than a bouquet of flowers, right? I will not buy another candle until I have completely finished the candle that I currently have. This is a conviction to somebody who has 10 plus candles that they barely use and stay in Bath and Body Works still picking up more. Use all of everything that you have of that item before you buy another one. Another example for me, I don't buy another journal until I have filled up the one that I currently have. So sometimes you might be shopping in Marshalls and you're in that checkout line and you see those cute journals. It's just so cute. And you just want to pick up one. But you got a journal at the house that has 2 pages written on it. Okay? Use all of everything before you buy something else. If there is still more left, don't buy another one of it until it's all gone or running low. Now, there are some exceptions, I say, for certain house things like toilet paper, hygiene materials, laundry items. If I'm running low, I will go ahead and get more. Like, I don't wait until those things are all gone. But y'all get what I'm saying, right? Okay. Identify things that are a true need versus something you want. Okay. Needs are essential items required. We're going to rewind that back. A need is an essential item required for survival and basic functioning. Do y'all hear that? Essential item required for survival and basic functioning, such as food, shelter, clothes, healthcare. A want is a desire that improves quality of life, but, there's a but, are not necessary for survival, such as entertainment, luxury goods, or dining out. All right, I'm going to step on some toes with this one. When it comes to vacationing, and I don't know if it's just the Black community. Again, I speak from my Black experience. I've done this. Why, y'all? Why, when we go on vacation, do we feel the need to buy a completely new wardrobe? Those people, wherever we go, and have never seen our outfits before. But yet we feel like we need everything brand new. Popping tags the whole trip when we go. Why is that? Why do we feel like we need those new shoes that just came out, or we need that new purse that just came out? Remember the definition for need. Essential item required for survival and basic functioning. So when those new items come out, sis, no, we don't need it. We want it. So we have to get clear on needs versus wants. And this will help with the stewardship of our home and living a minimalist lifestyle. Matthew 6:33 confirms our needs when it says, "Seek the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and he will give you everything you need." Everything that you require for survival and basic functioning, God will provide that for us. This makes me think again about manna in Exodus. We discredit the miracle in the manna. Having food to eat, having clothes to wear, having a house to live in, those are miracles. That is daily manna. So we find ourselves getting upset. I know, and I'm speaking from my own experience. Oh, I need a vacation. I need a break. Is that essential for my survival? No, I mean, it would be nice, but it's not a need, right? So these are things that we have to really stop and think about. And the last way to steward your home and possessions is to avoid trying to steward everything in your house by yourself. Sis, you're going to get burned out and you're going to feel overwhelmed. Now, there are some lessons that we can learn about this principle in Proverbs 31 from the Proverbs 31 woman. Proverbs 31 verse 15 says that she plans the day's work for her servant girls. Okay, we got to bring this into real time. No, you don't have servant girls, but you got kids at your house. Okay, you have kids at your house. Delegate tasks to the people who live in your house, whether that's your husband, your kids, your boo, whoever the case may be. Delegate tasks out to them. Don't try to do everything by yourself. Unless the person or people who live in your house have a physical disability, they can help you. There is no age limit to help when it comes to stewarding and upkeep of the home. You can break tasks down into days. Who is going to do what on which day? So, for example, in my house, my teenage son has to clean the bathroom every Sunday, and I want to include a different day as well, every Sunday and maybe Wednesday, okay? Every night, my oldest son knows that he has to load the dishwasher and wash the dishes. Y'all, this is the cheat code. I have experienced a new level of parenting. I don't know when the last time is that I washed a dish. And I love that for me. So, sis, there is no age limit. If you got younger kids, 5 and under, they can pick them toys up off that floor. You should not have to do that every single night. In their room, in the living room, wherever it is, they can pick things up and put it in a bin, put it in a place. That is things that they can do. My 9-year-old, she knows how to sweep. Her and her older brother, they tag team getting this kitchen done together. I'll cook the food. I prepare the food. That's my task. I'm not cleaning this kitchen. And we're very clear on that. Okay. Delegate tasks. Have a visual somewhere in the home, maybe like a dry erase board on who does what task when. All right. We also have to recognize the blessing of shelter. Don't take your home and your possessions for granted. Y'all, anytime that I see homeless people, this is like a piercing reminder to me and like a really strong conviction about any time I have complained about this apartment. There are people who live in tent communities that are homeless. I don't know if you have ever seen it. It's usually in like larger cities where there's just several tents packed together in like maybe under a bridge or in the woods or off, on some open land, where it's like these people live there. They live there outside. There are people who sleep on a bench. There are people who sleep on the sidewalk, on the street with absolutely nowhere to go. Having shelter, being ready to go home and having a home to go home to is a blessing. Again, a miracle in the manna. We just pull up to our houses every day like it's nothing, not realizing the miracle in that. Be grateful for to have shelter, to have possessions. There's something to be grateful for. Pay your bills on time. Try not to prioritize personal matters over your responsibilities. If you know your rent is due, do not go ordering stuff off Amazon with that money. If you know your light bill is due, don't go out to eat, dipping into that money for your light bill to pick up something from a fast food restaurant, right? It is a blessing to be able to pay bills. I keep a spreadsheet of my bills for the year and I mark it green after it's been paid. And I just reflect over the years how there's not one bill that was not able to be marked green. I am grateful to the Lord for the ability to pay bills. We have to have a perspective shift. Thank God that we get to do certain tasks around our house instead of looking at it as we have to. I get to wash dirty dishes because that means we have food to eat. I get to wash dirty clothes because that means I have clothes to wear. I get to pay my rent or my mortgage because that means I have somewhere to live. Right? It's a perspective shift. So, in conclusion, at the end of the day, stewardship of your home isn't about having less or having more. I know we touched on that a lot, but that's not the whole point of stewardship. It's about being faithful. Okay? Everything in your home belongs to God, and you are managing what He has entrusted to you. Don't forget that word entrusted. We're going to keep hearing it as we have these episodes. Something has been given to you by someone else. It is not yours. When we care for our homes with gratitude, avoid overconsumption, and handle our possessions responsibly, we reflect a heart that honors God. Peace does not come from accumulation, as commercials and ads and the worlds and social media will tell us. It comes from faithful management. All right. So our affirmation for today: I manage what God has entrusted to me with care and gratitude. Your homework, I got a few things for you. I want you to choose, and you can choose to do all of them or choose one. Choose one small area, a drawer, a closet, a bathroom counter, a purse, or your car, and declutter it completely. Okay? Remove anything that you don't use, don't need, or have not touched in months. I saw one suggestion for this for clothes is to turn your hangers. You know how we hang our hangers front way and you can see like the round part facing you? They suggested that you turn it backwards, right? So anytime that you wear something, you turn it backwards to show that you've worn that. If you have things that are still facing forward after a certain amount of time, that means that's something that you don't wear and that you can get rid of it. I thought that was a great idea. Ask yourself before buying anything this week, do I truly need this? Remember our definition for a need. Am I taking care of what I already have before you buy something else? Create a simple delegation plan. Assign one household responsibility to each capable family member in your house. Write it down and post it somewhere. They have dry erase boards at Walmart. at Family Dollar, at Dollar Tree. Get one, utilize it in your home. Okay. Our prayer for this, and then we'll wrap it up. Father God, thank you for the gift of shelter. Thank you for every possession, every appliance, every room, and every resource that you have entrusted to us. Forgive us, Lord, for the times that we have chased more while neglecting what we already have. Forgive us for complaining instead of caring. Teach us to steward our homes with excellence, not for appearance, but for your glory. Help us create spaces of peace, order, and welcome for your presence. Give us wisdom to consume less, gratitude for what we have, and discipline to manage it well. Remove overwhelm and replace it with clarity. Remove greed and replace it with contentment. May our homes reflect your peace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. 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 So that is all I have for you all today. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. If this episode blessed you, be sure to share it out, all the things, and I will talk to you all in the next episode. Bye.